Merry Tuesday from Isolation Station 24601. Me, Ammo Tom Campbell, says it down there somewhere. Jack is back on the news today as well with some scopes about New Japan Pro Wrestling. Make time to check that out. Not yet though. Just watch this through and then go and watch Jack's after. It pleases the algorithm if you do, and it pleases me. Here's some wrestling news. Is there heat between top WWE and NXT stars? Edge has taken issue with his match at Backlash 2020, and two released WWE stars are set to promote a wrestling show this summer. We'll talk about it in a little bit. Oh, it's lovely that. Tell you what isn't lovely, feuds on Twitter. We're all living in tinderboxes at the moment, getting angry with one another online, and wrestlers are no different. Randy Orton put out a tweet after NXT TakeOver in Your House, saying, "Heard TakeOver in Your House was great. Slapping my leg for you guys. Sincerely, #leg slap." This is the sequel to Dive that we didn't know we needed. Randy Orton making a little comment about the old art of the leg slap, that some indie wrestlers have been notorious for in the past, and apparently NXT guys are no different. That's according to Randy Orton, that is. So a little dig from Randall Keith, responded by Tommy C. Tommaso Ciampa took umbrage without the H, with Randy Orton's words and put out a tweet to Orton saying, "My daughter has been having trouble sleeping. Luckily, I found a remedy. Randy Orton matches. Better than NyQuil. Sincerely, #an entire locker room who busted their asses." Tommaso Ciampa sticking up for NXT. Randy Orton hits right back and says, "Looks like I hurt the feelings of the self-appointed locker room leader of a wrestling school. Let me know what time #leg slap class starts so I can take my game to the next level." I need to stop doing that. To Randy Orton and Ciampa getting into it on Twitter. Now this feels like possibly playful cajoling. Orton is one for being outspoken on social media though, so it's pretty much on brand for Orton to make a little dig like that. Speculation forever. Is this a little something that could translate to television? Tommaso Ciampa has just lost to Karrion Kross on NXT. Could this be the impetus that calls him up to Raw to have himself a little bit of a back and forth with Randall Keith? That'd be a leg slapper, but not for the noise, but because it would be a darn good time. Need to stop doing that. Randy Orton's dancing partner for Backlash has been in the news today, as well as Edge was talking about the greatest wrestling match ever, which is happening this Sunday. Already been recorded for Sunday. Edge was speaking to ESPN, and at the very beginning of the interview, when he's asked about the greatest wrestling match ever, Edge responds with, "There's no such thing as the greatest wrestling match ever. You're not going to be able to say definitively what is the greatest song of all time, the greatest painting of all time, the greatest movie of all time, the greatest band of all time. It's impossible because there's no general consensus. You have great matches, but what the greatest is going to be is different to almost everybody." And it's a really good point. The hyperbole around this match has been hilarious. The idea that they are billing this as like the greatest wrestling match ever, and they are doubling down on it as well, which almost makes me think it's just going to be 3-second match with a low blow and a roll up. Like they've over-egged this so much, there has to be some shenanigans to it. Edge isn't buying into it. The funny part is, when Paul Heyman and Vince McMahon pitched the whole greatest wrestling match ever thing to Edge thought it was a joke. which says it all. Edge goes on in this interview in ESPN to say, "I laughed because I didn't think it was serious. Then I realized fairly quickly that it was. And then my reaction was, is this wise? Because anytime you say something the greatest beforehand, you're setting yourself up for failure, and I don't ever want to think that way." Man, I'm really feeling for Edge. Like, he made this big return to prominence in the Rumble, that massive pop, and then the pandemic happened and he had his return encounter first time wrestling in so long in front of nobody at WrestleMania. And then it's like the next match he has, like hype is so big for it. The greatest wrestling match ever. Tell me, do you wanna go? Using songs from The Greatest Showman. Like, man, the pressure on this guy. He just wants a couple of matches and to disappear. No pressure or out. I think Edge and Orton have history putting on strong matches. I feel like the whole greatest wrestling match ever thing is a bit overblown. I think I speak for everybody here, and it does leave them open for something to go a little bit wrong. But hey, we're going to find out on Sunday. Speaking of Backlash, a title match has been added to the card. Sasha Banks and Bayley defending their women's tag team titles against the Iconics and Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. They had a little triple threat tag team shenanigan on Raw yesterday. More on that in Raw Graded in a little bit. So we got a little taste of how it could go, and we'll see it all go down this Sunday. So we'll run through the Backlash card very quickly. The triple threat for the women's tag team title is there. Also, John Morrison and The Miz team up to face Braun Strowman for the Universal Championship. Sheamus goes one-on-one with Jeff Hardy as a result of an angle that is very close to the knuckle for some. Raw women's titles on the line. Asuka's taking on Nia Jax. Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley are competing for the Impact World Championship. Sorry, the WWE Championship. The joke is they had that match a few years ago in Impact. Do you remember when that was a thing? And of course, the greatest wrestling match ever, Edge versus Randy Orton. Possibly the main event, depending on how well the shoot went. The fact they shot that match suggests that we're going to have some cinematic properties to it. Let's find out. Backlash could be a fun show. Backlash could be good fun. Predictions, reactions, and all that jazz coming over the weekend at WWE Backlash. Looking back to last Sunday at NXT TakeOver in your house, there was one member of the WWE team who was asked if they wanted to return to the old school, and they flat out said no. This comes from the post-TakeOver media call that Triple H conducted, and he said, "You have no idea how hard I tried to get Michael Hayes to cut his hair and show up as handsome Doc Hendricks. His refusal was loud and very intense. I could hear him exploding through my cell phone as his Doc Hendricks photo appeared on the wall of Johnny Gargano's living room." That was great. Those nostalgic moments, Triple H goes on to say, and all the things that we remember if you're old enough, and even if you don't, between WWE Network and YouTube clips, is right there for everybody. From Regal doing his best Lord Alfred Hayes, to the ice cream sandwiches, to the Ica Pro. It was a lot of fun and paid back the nostalgia in a great way for fans. Could this come back again? Absolutely. I think people enjoyed it. I would be down for another trip back to the halcyon days of In Your House. I loved the aesthetic of the show on Sunday. I don't think it was the greatest takeover ever, as we've discussed in Graded, but love the aesthetic of it all. I'd be happy to see that again. And maybe for the next one, Mr. Hayes, just shave your head. Just go back a bit shorter. Let's see handsome Doc Hendricks interviewing people backstage. If I said to you the Attitude Era, if I said to you Star from the Attitude Era, if I said to you major player from the biggest period in wrestling history, you'd think the same name as I, wouldn't you? That's right. Pete Gas from the Mean Street Posse. There he is. Back in the news today is our boy Pete Gas. He's had replacement knee surgery, as reported by PW Insider. Best wishes to Pete Gas, who underwent a partial knee replacement earlier on this month and has already started his physical therapy. He was a legitimate lifelong friend of Shane McMahon that turned into a wrestling gig for himself and Rodney and Joey Abs, although sweater vests were cool once. He doesn't wrestle anymore, apart from the odd sporadic appearance at a WWE show and whatever. He's actually working as a bond broker these days. But he's released an autobiography called Looking at the Lights. You can buy it on Amazon for a couple of quid. I'm tempted to buy it. I want to know the life and times of Pete Gas. And you do as well now. Don't pretend you don't. Star of the Attitude Era, mate. Bobby Lashley, but not Bobby Leasley. We have tracked the next movements of Sex Ferguson and Chad Too Bad. Gallows and Anderson are setting up a wrestling show for August. So this was revealed in a cool little video on Twitter that played out in the dream world of Rocky Romero, where we see a ring in the center of a field, and it's accompanied by Chad Too Bad and Sex Ferguson, aka Anderson and Gallows, with voiceover bits all around it. And then we see the date, August the 1st, and then we see the show named Talkin' Shop and Mania. So Talkin' Shop is the podcast that Gallows has been shouting about a lot on Twitter, and there's a big episode coming where they're going to talk all about their time in WWE and loads of other big stuff from them, including, as we've seen here, by the looks of it, a wrestling show, a fully fledged wrestling show. Fightful Select say that this event they're putting on is going to be sort of part wrestling show, part variety show. So it's going to be quite a unique offering from Gallows, Anderson and Romero. More on this if you follow all three of them on Twitter, I suppose. Talkin' Shop and Mania on August the 1st. By that point, a lot of places will start to be letting crowds in again. So chances are this could be, a wrestling show in front of a crowd. What a dream that is. Imagine such a thing. Do you remember when that was a thing all the time? Oh, days, glory days, glory days. Stay safe. Love you, bye.